Hello, people. How are you doing on this lovely, beautiful day? It's Michaela Valletta, live again from beautiful Chicago. Ugh, there's bugs flying around me. I'm sorry. I feel like a bug blew on my nose. But yeah, so I'm live on my Instagram, Michaela Valletta Travels. I'll repost this to my YouTube. Make sure you follow me in both places. I just wanted to do a quick video. I did a video a few days ago talking about what the vibe was in Chicago, and I'm always showing you this beautiful water, and it's so peaceful where I am. Maybe I should flip the camera around and just, well, I won't, but it's just beautiful and peaceful around me. And so a lot of you may have heard about a major raid that happened in Chicago on the south side. Right now I'm on the north side. I'm in the northeast, which is right next to the lake. And where the raids happened was in the south side, also right next to the lake, the south shore, right? So it's just on the lake going south. And I've definitely heard conflicting things about the raid, and I have mixed feelings about it. And I just want to reiterate the fact that the neighborhood that I live in is heavily full of immigrants, West African, East African, Central American, Indian, African, I already said Africans, all, heavily immigrant community I live in Chicago, and I have not seen ICE at all in my area. And there isn't this, you see what you see on the news, but in my neighborhood, there is not this sense of panic or worry. Even though there are signs in businesses that say, ICE no afuera, or, ICE no aquí, and all this stuff. Um, so, um, Now, if you're from Chicago, if you're from the South Side and you want to add your 2 cents, please do. I'm going to give my opinion as someone who lives in Chicago, who's been living here for 9 years and has been observing from the outside in. And I'm going to give my opinion based on what I've also heard other black Chicagoans say. Okay. So, for one, South Shore is a predominantly black American neighborhood. Okay. And one of the things that I think was really messed up is that when Chicago decided to become a sanctuary city, they bust Venezuelans and all of these illegal migrants into the south side of Chicago, into communities in the south side of Chicago that were heavily black, where people had um, no resources. Okay, I couldn't live on the south side. You go to South Shore, it's cute over there. It is by the lake as well, but there's no resources. There's no stores. There's no food, and it is a dangerous neighborhood. Okay, and so when Chicago decided to be a sanctuary city and take everybody, they were shipping a lot of them into South Shore, okay? And in front of the faces of black Americans who were struggling, they're watching migrants get free housing, free food, all types of stuff in their face. They wanted to reopen the schools in South Shore that had been closed down to house migrants. And there were a lot of black Americans who were upset about that, okay? They were saying take them to the north side. They weren't dumping them even in the Hispanic community. They were dumping them in a lot of black American communities. So this building that was taken over by ICE, apparently that building had gone from being a mostly black American building to being heavily Venezuelan. Now, these are things I've heard. I'm not 100% sure all of what is true, but I've fact checked a few times. And what I heard was the reason why they even went at that building was because there was a Venezuelan gang that took over the building. Well, and took over it like, let me say take over it. First, I heard that they had taken over, that it was a building of squatters, and they took over the building. Then I heard that it was just a lot of them living there. And I don't know if that it was legal, but there were black Americans in the building who were complaining about that building for the past year. Now, just like with everything, nothing is 100%. You have some black people who said that they were communicating with them and working with them, helping each other out. And there were other ones who were complaining about things. Overall, I think the building itself wasn't taken care of very well. South Shore is the hood, okay? Now, this idea that people keep telling black Americans that we need to be concerned and we need to be fighting, I still have an issue with that, because I feel like it is really unfair that as black Americans, we've always had target in our back. We've always been concerned. We've always had these worries. But to put people, okay, it's already stressful enough being black in America. But to force illegal migrants into our community, okay, a lot of them who were criminals. Chicago already has a problem with gangs, black gangs and Latin gangs. And I did hear last year from some people, like this one dude I knew in Chicago who was a garbage man, and he told me when he was up early in the morning getting the garbage, he would see Venezuelan gangs walking through the alleys, and that there were some issues. Now I heard conflicting things. Some people said that wasn't happening. Some people said it was. Okay, these are just some things that I've heard from people. And so when you do that kind of raid, now first of all, we've all saw the videos online when Trump first said he was going to bring the National Guard into Chicago. You had a lot of Chicago thugs on the internet threatening him, threatening the troops, saying, "Oh, Chicago, we don't play, we shoot back, we dangerous, blah 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 blah." So they were talking a lot. And in Chicago, there's already people that shoot at the police. Okay, South Shore is a neighborhood I wouldn't want to be the police in. Okay, so the neighborhood's already a crime-ridden neighborhood. Already had people, Chicago thugs on the internet, threatening law enforcement, threatening Trump, saying if you send them over here, we're going to shoot at them, we're going to attack them. So putting that into context, on top of the fact that when they do raids, that is like normal procedure. From my understanding, when the FBI, because that was ATF, FBI, ICE, and DHS, I don't know. I know ATF, FBI, and ICE and some other organization was involved in that. And I know when the FBI and stuff does raid, just like with Diddy, they apprehend everybody. So they handcuff everybody. It's protocol. Now, I'm not an expert on that. This is just what I fact checked. If anybody wants to tell me something different because you know better, please go ahead. And so when people were saying black Americans are being detained, black Americans, everybody in that building was handcuffed or zip tied. And yes, I think that it's messed up that they separated kids from their parents. I do. I don't know if that's common protocol. I think that's messed up. I think that it's messed up that black Americans had to endure that. However, if you live in a building that's overrun by illegal immigrants who are criminals, it's like living in a crack building with a bunch of crack dealers, right? If you live in a building with 20, 30 people in there selling crack, and they raid the building, you might be caught up in it because you live in that building. However, from the facts that I can see, they let all the black Americans go. They did not deport any. They didn't take any away. Now, when they did this raid, they said that if anybody had a warrant, they were going to take them away, even if it wasn't immigration related. I mean, again, Chicago has a lot of criminals. A lot of criminals hiding out. People thinking they could just get away with stuff. So if you have a warrant for some reason and they were taking you for some other reason, okay. Again, South Shore is a dangerous neighborhood. But I feel like it's messed up. I feel like black Americans, instead of telling us, oh, you see, this is why you need to be concerned. This is why you need to fight for immigrants. Instead of telling us that, I feel like black Americans should feel some kind of way that you're putting them around us to use that as an excuse to also terrorize us and tear down our shit. How are black Americans who've always been in Chicago getting their doors broke down, buildings, getting their home completely busted in because their building has been occupied by illegals and they allow all these illegals to come into their neighborhoods? If that had been any way around, if black Americans or Americans, period, were moving to another country by the thousands, coming into people's communities, getting resources in front of their face that they don't get. And then when the government told us, you know what, you can't stay here anymore, you're not legal, you got to go, we decided not to go. Instead, we decided to fight law enforcement, fight ICE. And now it's getting the people in that country who've always been there caught up in some shit. And we still want to do that. Now we're trying to ask these people to fight for us. That's wrong to me. If you're not supposed to be here, you're not supposed to be here. There's no way that you should be forcing black Americans into this fight. We have to worry about ourselves. Okay? And if it was happening to us in your country, would anybody be fighting for us? I don't think so. Yeah, so, I mean, anybody, I have heard different opinions in Chicago. I just looked at a video on YouTube where plenty of Chicagoans, black Chicagoans, who live in the area, We're saying they're trying to bait us. They're trying to get us to come out the house and fight. Don't do it. They're not detaining us. Okay, they detained everybody for a couple hours, but they didn't take any black Americans away. We have always been concerned, but we are not concerned about being deported. And I'm not concerned about being deported. Okay? Like, even my neighborhood in New York City is full of Dominicans, immigrants, right? And in some ways, you could say we look alike, but a lot of times when I'm in my neighborhood, I could tell who's American and who's Dominican. And just somebody didn't, just in case they didn't know, I can prove I'm American in a second. ICE is not snatching Americans. Okay? Every time they're using technology, okay? They have technology now where they can track anybody who's not supposed to be here, they can track you down using cell phone towers and all this. And what I learned today is that ICE does not have to have a warrant. So a lot of people are asking ICE, like ICE is coming up to people who are clearly illegal, and they're like, oh, I need your warrant, you need a warrant, and they want to fight with them. ICE is not the police. They actually don't have to have a warrant if they are targeting you. And they can do police stops if they are targeting you, and running from them is not smart. If I was in a foreign country, I would not run from law enforcement. However, it is bad that Trump has it where a lot of these people aren't identifiable, right? So they're not necessarily, you got people who could be fake ICE. So that's an issue where people don't always know who's real or not. But if you knew who's real, you know it's ICE, I wouldn't run from it. Someone said, I can look at FBA and see you, my people. Yeah, most Americans look American. Every now and then, there's somebody who you might thought was American and they were Puerto Rican, or maybe you thought they were Puerto Rican and they're from New Orleans. That happens sometimes. But a lot of times people have a look. You know what I'm saying? I can tell who's in Harlem. There's a lot of Africans. In my neighborhood in Chicago, there's a lot of Africans. I can tell when I'm looking at Africans versus Americans. I can tell. Someone said it would take a whole group effort to reverse this as the government created this sanctuary with large money, transportation, and resources. The sanctuary city shit never should have happened. So instead of telling black Americans that we need to be fighting for immigrants and we need to be, I'm upset with all these Democrats, with the Democrats for allowing thousands and thousands and thousands of illegals to just walk into this country unchecked. It's aided to the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl became the number one killer of all Americans, and it was coming from Mexico and China. And then people talking about with the kids, like the migrants. Why would you put your kids in this situation? Why would you put your kids in a situation where they are unaccompanied in this country? A lot of people are trying to abuse the system here. Okay? There's a lot of abusing the system and entitlement and then wanting to blame us when you're not supposed to be here, when you shouldn't have just let your kids just come here and be walking around. You put your kids in that situation. Someone said, I'm seeing ads here in Georgia for ICE recruiting with 50K sign-up bonuses and student loan forgiveness. Yeah. Yep. Now, to me, I just don't understand, like, if you're not legal in a country, I just don't understand. I don't care how long you've been here. If you've been here for 50 years illegally, be thankful that 50 years went by and you were able to be here, but now it's time to go. Like, the entitlement is crazy to me. And then trying to gaslight black Americans and throw us in it and be like, you know, now you got us mingled up in it because they're putting illegals in our neighborhood. But for me, I'm not afraid of being detained in Chicago. But if I lived in that building, I'd be pissed because I'd be like, now these illegals who are around us are making our life more stressful, as if our life wasn't stressful enough in this country. And then you have so many Americans who are moving to Mexico because they say that they have a better life. So, I mean, I don't know. But for the migrants, if you are here, you have to be afraid for your life and afraid of ICE and afraid you might get shipped to Alcatraz or shipped to Uganda. Is that a better life? Is it a better life here? There are other countries that you could go to. There's other Spanish-speaking countries. Why not be in Mexico? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So I just wanted to say, like, you know, this is my experience in beautiful Chicago. Like, it's peaceful in my neighborhood. And I'm not concerned or stressed about ICE. I haven't even seen them. They've mostly been downtown, it seems. I haven't been down there. And then I heard, like, then they were on the south side. Maybe they will come to my area. But I'm not worried or concerned. And I think that there's been a lot of immigration fraud in this country. And I'm going to talk about that more on my other page, the Renaissance Amazon. I had done a video on that the other day and it didn't save, so I have to do it again. Talking about, I don't know if you guys know what happened in Iowa with the Guyanese guy who was totally illegal. He was the Des Moines, Iowa school district superintendent who was lying about his degrees. I'm gonna do a video talking about that on my other page, the Renaissance Amazon. You said I make Chicago look good. Thank you. Chicago's a cute little, pretty little place. Depends on where you are. Some parts of the city are not that nice, but most of it is really beautiful. Hold on, let me pick up my bag. I'm walk away. Hold on. Let me take this. I have this here hooked up on the last few days of warmth. Hold up. So let me show you. Now let me hold up. I gotta put my tripod down so I can hold up. Hold on. I just wanted to walk and show you. I need an extra hand. So this is the beach up here. Just walking in the grass, whole bunch of bugs. And it's just peaceful. Hold up. See? Lake Michigan. And again, like, my neighborhood is very diverse, so it's not a white neighborhood or a black neighborhood. It's actually a very diverse, heavily immigrant neighborhood. But you can see the lake over there. Would I be willing to go to the South Side and talk to some of the folks in the future? Yeah. I'm pretty busy, and I don't get paid to make these videos, and I don't love South Shore that much, and there's not a lot of people standing outside on the street in Chicago like there is in New York. I mean, I could go over there and do that, but hold on a minute. I'm trying to close my tripod. Why can't I get this thing closed? I need my hands to close my tripod. Hold on. I need to go over to a table. The fact that that's time consuming, you do have some people who make money on YouTube. So going around and interviewing people is easier for them. So that's one thing that might make that hard to do. But what I have seen on YouTube, videos about it, I've seen some Black Chicagoans commenting, and I've seen some saying what I'm saying, and seen some talking about how there are people complaining about that building for a year. And I've seen some who feel like, yeah, we need to be concerned. I'm not concerned. We need to be fighting for immigrants. Like I've seen both things on both sides. And so I am still trying to investigate. I'm still trying to ask my friends who live over there. Hold on. Let me try to, I need to close my tripod. Hold on a second. I need to put this camera down. Oh, shit. Ah, damn, I need both my hands. Hold on. I can't hold on to, okay. I got this. And, hold on. I don't know. Okay. I got it all down. Hold up. Okay. Sorry, it's hard holding the camera and talking and just doing all this stuff. Okay. So, yeah, I'm trying to ask some of my friends who live over there what their thoughts are. And I'm about to go to New York, I think. I'm supposed to be heading to New York, so I don't know if I'll be around long enough to ask. I wanted to go to the South Side tomorrow, but I wanted to go to Hyde Park, which is a different area. It's not South Shore. So I may try to ask, but I don't know if I'll go over there and ask. I might just do it from a distance. And so, hold up. See how cold it is over here. Very nice. I know. I was like, see. It's a nice, relaxed area. Um, but yeah, if anybody's from Chicago, I would love. I mean, for me, being from New York, um, to me, I can see like Chicago's a great city, but they definitely be starving the black people in Chicago. The black Americans. You go to the neighborhoods in Chicago, it is peaceful. It's very peaceful. Um, if you go to neighborhoods in Chicago that are mostly black American, you don't have many resources. Not many supermarkets. You don't see a lot of barbershops, clothing stores. There's nothing but liquor stores and gas stations. Okay. The South Side is not as bad looking as a lot of hoods in America. It looks better than the worst parts of Philly and Baltimore and New Orleans and Oakland. So even the bad parts of Chicago looks better than most places, but there's no resources and there's a lot of empty lots. See where I'm walking right now, like you see I'm walking away from the beach. Black communities all over our food deserts, not in New York. But that's true. Everywhere but New York. So you got, hold on a minute. See across the street, got some buildings. And you got, the lake is right there. And then you got a big old house right across the street from buildings. Another big old house with a yard. So, you know, it's a very beautiful, peaceful block. Yeah, black communities everywhere are food deserts except New York. That's the thing. That's what makes New York special. And people be asking, oh, why people pay so much money in New York? And they think New York is overrated. We don't have food deserts, and we don't have resource deserts. See the beautiful scenery behind me? So New York is an exception in that way, but yeah. But if you're in Chicago and you come to a neighborhood that's heavily immigrant, so it's Hispanics, it's Africans, it's Caribbeans, it's Italians, it's Polish, any group but Americans, any group of black Americans, you'll see tons of stores, restaurants, supermarkets, cleaners, all that stuff. But not when you, hairdressers, nail salons. But when you go to the areas in Chicago that's mostly black American, like it makes me hungry and thirsty to be over there. And I feel like the black Americans who live on the south side and the west side are so deprived, they don't even realize it. It's like they do, but they don't even realize it. And to me, it's crazy to see the blatant starvation of black Americans in Chicago, where immigrants of every type, white to brown to I don't care, is given things that black Americans are not, given priority, even with the black American mayor. So you can look on YouTube and see the videos of black Americans who were complaining. Hold on, let me cross the street. I don't want to get hit. Yeah, you can go on YouTube and you see town hall meetings of black Americans in the South Side who were complaining and mad about illegal immigrants being bussed into their communities and given housing and food and resources in their faces. So to me, it's crazy that black Americans were against that. Then they're in a building overrun by a dangerous gang. Then they have to endure a raid because of some illegals. That, as a black American who lived over there, would piss me off. It would not make me say, let me go out in the streets and fight for them. No, it would not. It would not. Why should black Americans go outside, risk our lives and our safety for not only people who wouldn't do it for us, but people who are in the way? And I'm not anti-immigrant, but I'm anti-illegals and I'm America taking everybody, like America can take, I've been saying this for years. People act like America can house everybody, feed everybody, like we have resources of everybody when our own people, our own American people don't have everything. When I was in Cuba, that was one of the things I respected about Cuba and Castro. He put Cubans first. Cubans first. Americans haven't put Americans first. And the true Americans are the copper-complected black people from this land. So I'm concerned with us. I'm tired of the sob stories. Okay? And that doesn't mean I'm MAGA. I'm not MAGA. I didn't vote for Trump. But even when the DNC happened last year, I made a video talking about how they were talking about immigrants too much. It was just the immigrant story, immigrant. You don't see anything in the news about what's happening to us, our condition. I don't understand not being here legally and the entitlement. So I think I've gotten that point across. I said what I need to say. People need to understand. I do think that ICE agents should be identifiable so you know for sure that it's ICE, but by law. They don't have to read you any rights because they're not the police. They don't have to identify themselves by law. So Americans will have to work to change the law. I fucking dogs get on my nerves. I wish I could kick that dog in his face. Little fucking shit dogs are always bothering people. I'm over here minding my business, talking to you, and this little shit dog's gonna come barking and scare the shit out of me. Anyhow, somebody said, I agree, many of the people ICE is targeting look down on us, wouldn't lift a finger to help us. Exactly. So, I'm tired of the gaslighting. I'm tired of people telling us that, you see, we told you black Americans were next. You see, we told you that you need to care. You see, we told you. And I want to be like, yeah, we care. We care in the sense of get out of our communities. Get out of our communities. I don't care where I'm going to come outside and take it to the streets and start fighting ICE for them. No, I'm not. Because before now ICE is doing a lot, but before, they wasn't doing shit. Okay? So anyhow, I'm going to stop this video. If you're from Chicago, please, you have some insight about what's going on. Maybe from the South Side. Please let me know your thoughts. I'm letting you know as a Chicagoan who's not from here, from the outside looking in, who doesn't live on the South Side, but I have my own observations. So, yeah, but nice little peaceful over here where I'm at. And there's all kinds of immigrant businesses over here. And ICE has been nowhere to be found. So, hold on a minute. I'm trying to put my camera. Okay, yeah, so that's that, okay? So I hope you guys have a good day. You can check out my video on the Renaissance Amazon. I'll probably do a video in the morning talking about this again, but hello, how are you? Talking about this again, but also just there's a lot of immigration fraud that has been happening in this country. And again, I'm a traveler. I respect the boundaries of other countries. I respect law enforcement in other countries. And if I'm not supposed to be there, I'm not fighting with law enforcement. I'm not running. I'm not doing none of that. And if I was in a situation where I knew it wasn't in the country legally and they were hunting people down the way they are, because this is not 1995, now they can use technology and they can find you, I probably would consider leaving, just so I don't have to be in that situation. You don't have the right, nobody has the right to be anywhere in that way. In a country that I can't go to China and be like, I have the right to stay here for 10 years. I don't care what you say. Like, the world doesn't work like that. Sorry. But anyhow, yeah. Please add your 2 cents if you want. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.